What's good, y'all? Welcome or welcome back to FlyeBooks, where books meet culture head on. So let me start here. On the Come Up by Angie Thomas is not just about rap. It's about survival, it's about identity, and it's about what it really costs to chase the come up when the world already expects you to fail. Now, this story follows Brianna Jackson, or Bree for short, growing up in Garden Heights, which is the same neighborhood we saw in The Hate U Give. Now, Bree is the daughter of a legendary underground rapper, a man who was killed before he even got his shot at fame and fortune. And that legacy is heavy because from jump, Bree is carrying a name and a past and expectations she never asked for. One thing I immediately appreciated is how Angie Thomas grounds Bree's ambition in real hip-hop culture. Bree is inspired by that Nas line from Illmatic, "The world is mine." And that's not just a bar, that's a mindset and a declaration of power. It's about claiming space in a world that keeps telling you there isn't any room for you. And Bree carries that energy from the very beginning. Now, believe me when I say Angie doesn't romanticize the struggle. Bree's family is under real financial pressure. Lights get cut off, rent is looming, fridge is bare. Her brother Trey is working nonstop at a dead-end job, and her mom is laid off. And that's enough to lead anyone into despair, barely staying afloat. But that desperation is what fuels Bree's hunger, not for clout, not for fame, but for survival and helping her family breathe. And really, that's what the come up really means for a lot of young people. And that brings us to one of the most powerful themes in this book as well, trauma. Angie Thomas makes something very clear, that trauma lives on until it's healed. Even children feel it. Kids might not understand every detail, but they know when something is wrong. They feel fear, they feel loss, and they feel tension. And Bree carries trauma from her father's death, from violence in her community, and from just being constantly watched and judged. And none of that disappears because she's young. That emotional weight shows up in her music as well. And let me say this plainly, do not sleep on rap as an art form. You see, this book respects hip hop. Rap isn't treated like noise or rebellion. It's treated like craft, flow, rhythm, breath, pronunciation, wordplay, timing, and delivery. Bree studies her art. She practices and revises, and she thinks about cadence and syllables. And that matters. Because too often people dismiss hip hop because they don't want to acknowledge the intelligence behind it. And that connects directly to one of the book's sharpest critiques, which is truth-telling. Because it really irks me how quick folks ought to blame hip hop, true hip hop, right? The kind that tells it like it is in these streets for societal problems, because it's easier than looking at the real problems. It's easier than confronting poverty. Easier than talking about underfunded schools, easier than talking about systemic neglect. So instead, they label rappers as dangerous. Bree isn't feared because she's violent. She's feared because she's honest. And honesty makes people uncomfortable. And another thing Angie Thomas handles beautifully is the complexity of the neighborhood itself. We're quick to label people in the hood as bad, drug dealers or gang members or hustlers, and not to say they're good, but this book shows something more real, that even the people society condemns often support those who are trying to do something positive with their lives. And they protect Bree and they encourage her because when someone from the hood is chasing something better and doing it authentically, it gives everybody hope. Now let's talk about the cost of fame. As Bree starts gaining attention, the industry begins shaping her into something more marketable, louder, angrier, more violent, more stereotypical. And they don't want Bree, they want a version of her. And the book asks a powerful question. What do you lose when success requires you to become someone you're not? Angie Thomas is clear. Being fake for fame is not the move. That's not freedom. That's another kind of trap. And Bree has to decide if the come up is worth sacrificing her integrity and her community and her sense of self. And that tension is written with real care because you feel it in every choice that Bree makes. What stuck with me is how this book reminds us that most young people chasing success, they aren't chasing luxury, they're chasing relief. They're trying to escape poverty. They're trying to help their families survive. Bree's dreams aren't shallow, they're urgent. And by the time I finished On the Come Up, I wasn't just thinking about Bree. I was thinking about how often young Black voices are misunderstood, especially when they speak through art and when they tell the truth. On the Come Up is sharp, emotional, and honest. It respects hip hop, it respects young people, and it refuses to let the system off the hook by blaming the art instead of addressing the conditions that created it. So if you care about music, culture, and community, or the real meaning of success, this book is definitely worth your time. And just an FYI, there is a movie version of the book, though as I like to say, the book is always better. So until next time, this is FlyeBooks. Keep reading and keep growing. Peace.